Hey YouTube, take way too many on my attempt to make a concise short review video for this RisingCam model 5109 microscope camera. First off, disclosures and my personal rant on compensation. I have no relevant disclosures. I am not being compensated for this. I bought that with my own money. I have not been solicited to review it. I was not sent it for free. I am not being kicked back money or a discount code or anything. I have no link for you to click on that gives me stuff. I have no financial or material interest in this, full stop. I dislike the dishonesty inherent in reviewers that say they are not being compensated when what they're saying is they haven't been paid cash. If they've been sent a $1,000 tool and they get to keep it, they're compensated. Okay, end rant, moving on. Buyer beware about AliExpress. This is also available on eBay. RisingCam has their own eBay store, so that's another way to get it. It is more expensive though, because eBay takes their fees. So I got mine on AliExpress. That experience went okay for me. But eBay definitely has better protections for the buyer, I would say. But you can do your own research on that. So, the Wild West of AliExpress and product research. There are many microscope cameras on AliExpress in many different price ranges, and a whole bunch of them will make wildly fraudulent claims about the specifications and what their stuff will do. I relied solely on doing lots of research outside of AliExpress. The reason I decided to go for this one was this gentleman right here, Soren. He runs the YouTube channel Electronics Repair School, and he has a forum of a similar vein to EEV blog, but a little bit smaller. Forum.sorenelectronics.com. He is overall a quality human being and reputable. From what I researched on him, I felt he was trustworthy and not going to shill for anyone. At least that's the impression I personally got. So, yeah, back in August of last year, he reviewed 4 different cameras, and the 5109 was one of those cameras, and it came out on top. He also took it apart, looked inside of it. It had some failings, it had some greats. The image quality was superb, and from my personal experience, I completely agree. The image quality is superb. Well, hello there. If I go further into that, I'm getting into another part of the review. To keep the time down, I'm giving myself a checklist to go through. So that's where I found it. Check his channel out. He is an excellent resource on YouTube, and the forum is good too. Next up, packaging. This is one of the negatives. I received my camera completely undamaged, so keep that in mind. In my opinion, the packaging on this is insufficient. Now, with packaging, the smaller and lighter something is, the less susceptible to damage it is. And this is encased in a solid milled aluminum shell, so okay. Still, this was in this little sleeve, and then it was protected by this thickness of foam and this thickness of cardboard. Very minimal. For a $500 piece of electronics equipment, precision gear, I would want better than that. And I've suggested such in my review. They have replied and said they're going to take that into account. And there is some evidence that they listen to this kind of information and they make improvements. we'll see. They protected the image sensor very well. Inside there was first this little hard cap over the sensor port, and then inside that was, might still have it somewhere. No, I do. This. You can see this never touches the sensor. It touches kind of a little frame around the sensor. So they protected the physical sensor itself very well. I am thoroughly happy with the job they did. There were 2 layers of protection. Very good. The box overall, inadequate in my opinion. What you get, it's, I apologize for this, it's either an 8 or a 10 foot, I forget which, flat HDMI cable with Ethernet capabilities. That's not what they included, but there's a USB-A to USB-A cable, the barrel jack power adapter. It's a little wall wart. It's fairly small. They include, not this, I bought that separately, but in there, let's see if I can get you light. There's a little plastic spacer ring for the C-mount. Typically that's just called a 5mm C-mount spacer, or some variation on that. You need it to connect that with enough space to get the focus depth right. They included that, which I was grateful for. I bought this separately off Amazon. It said it included a spacer. No spacer came with it, so I was very grateful that RisingCam thought ahead to have that in there. They include a calibration slide. This is basically just a microscope slide with a kind of silkscreen printed 1mm circle with a little dot in the center. And that is so if you want to do calibration, like on here, why is this? I don't think this is an issue of the mouse. I think this might be a software bug. Okay, it's working. The mouse sometimes doesn't want to go down all the way. I'm not sure what's going on. I honestly don't know if that's the camera software or if it's my mouse. I did just put this there. All right, so moving on. You can use various on-screen measurement tools. You can see that grid there. And if you zoom so that the measurement on screen matches the measurement on slide, you'll have calibrated. At that point, you need to lock your zoom. You can't zoom in and out anymore or you lose your calibration. But if you do that, there are drawing tools on here that you can just draw from like point A to point B, and it will give you the distance on there, so you can measure the individual components. I've skipped ahead. I've gone from what you get in there to features of the camera. Oh well. So what else you get? You get a mouse, because you need a mouse for the software interface. It's a little magnet attached wireless mouse, USB. And that's the rest of what you get in there. So that covers what you get in the box. No battery included with that is just AA, that it's not relevant, but I thought I'd mention it. The camera itself, we already covered some of the software. The image quality, absolutely excellent. A+, out of the park. I am completely satisfied. Having paid $500 for the camera, I'm completely satisfied with the image quality. It is excellent. I think it's at 60 FPS right now. It turns on defaulted to 30. Okay, that's at 30. So that's a bug right there. It does have some minor software bugs. You see it went dark. Brightness shows at 65. If I click it, or at 63. If I click it, and I don't really change it around, I'm just moving it to adjust any amount, it, goes back. That's tolerable to me. I don't care. It's minor. But the software does have some minor non-critical bugs that I found. Yeah, the speed, that's the 60 FPS. I'm not sure how well it comes across on the camera. This is just on my phone, and my phone records at 30 FPS. So I don't know how well you can see through the lens of what I'm recording with, the quality of motion on this. With my eyes, I'm telling you, it is excellent, and I am very happy with it. There is some image lag. You can see it there. That, to me, is not critical, but it is something that exists, and I want to mention it. I am running this through KVM, so whatever delay is inherent to this is adding probably a few milliseconds through the KVM. So keep that in mind. It's probably not all the camera. So let's see. Soren, when he was taking a look at his and reviewing it, that was about 8 months ago, he said the camera ran very hot, literally thermal hot. And he took it apart. It had a small heatsink pad. He replaced it with a larger heatsink pad to cover more of the chips and get it bonded to that aluminum shell. I'm pretty sure they paid attention to that, and they've improved thermal performance. This gets warm. It does not get hot anymore. So whatever they've done, I haven't taken it apart yet. I might do that, and if so, I'll post a different video. But I'm not the reviewer Soren is, so maybe, and maybe not. I'll do that. We'll see. But yeah, this is mildly warm. It is nowhere near what I would call hot, and I'm not worried about the electronics frying themselves. That probably isn't just them improving the thermal pad or thermal grease they use to connect it to this aluminum shell. Because Soren did that. He put in that better thermal pad, and I mean, that doesn't reduce the wattage you put out in heat. So I'm guessing they tweaked the single computer board in there. It's not the sensor that gets hot. It's the single board computer they have that does image processing and runs the software. So maybe they're running it at a lower clock speed. Maybe they're running the processor at a lower voltage. Maybe it's different hardware, like they're using a different image processor. I don't know. But this runs great in terms of image quality, and it is not burning hot anymore. So they do make iterative improvements. So I think that covers the good. Let's see. Image quality, 60 FPS, thermal performance. I haven't gone through all the software features. There's a ton of them to just go through and play with. But most of them are not relevant to me because I just want it for inspection and occasional soldering. So a lot of the features I just don't really need. The neutral. There is no autofocus. If you know microscope cameras or cameras in general, you're looking at the thickness of the camera, and you already know that because there's no mechanical depth for a servo motor to physically move the sensor. That is how autofocus works. Digital autofocus is garbage. Yeah. So yeah, for high quality imagery, autofocus needs to be mechanical autofocus. And if you have a camera that's like this thick and it says this has autofocus, yeah, it could have autofocus. If you see a camera that is this thick and it says it has autofocus, you're probably being lied to. But I mean, that's not a problem. I knew what I was not getting, and I just have this 0.5 C-mount adapter with that focus ring, and I just dial it in once and done. So I don't need autofocus is something where, I mean, yeah, if I'm zooming out, it could fix that. I, for my purposes, don't really need that. So that's kind of the neutral. The bad. Yes, the bad. This doesn't have a power switch. It's a high-end $500 camera, and it does not have a power switch. Still, I mean, functionally speaking, how big a gripe is that? I'm okay with it. I would prefer for it to have that. For its price point, I think it should. I've given that feedback to RisingCam, and they said they'll pay attention to it. But for me, it's certainly good enough for my purposes. I'm able to accept that lack. That's probably the one biggest thing. What else do we have for the bad? No firmware updates. The software is able to update firmware. So if we go in here, to here, so right there, firmware version, mine came with 3.0, YW camera model underscore 3.0. So the software is able to upgrade firmware. I asked them about it. I think there's kind of a Chinese business cultural issue going on where they're reluctant to outright tell you what they or their product can't do. So when I asked, hey, are there, firmware updates available for this product going into the future, they would only respond with, you have the latest firmware. So could I be misinterpreting? Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that means they're just not offering firmware updates. Maybe they want their cameras to ship with whatever it ships with and not have the possibility of their customers borking their stuff and rendering it unusable. Yeah. But I would like to see firmware availability, but that's looking like it's not on the table. Yes. So, going over here, in their manual, they say that you can download their freely included, if you're a buyer, SI2 software from this link. No preview available. File is the owner's trash. It's a Google Drive link. So that's if you're running this through a computer and you want to run the software on the computer. It's basically the same software that's running on the camera. This is the SI2 software. So that's another detractor, but for my purposes at least, it is minor. What else do we have? So technical specifications. Let's go up here. Sensor is the Sony IMX334, 8.3 megapixels. There's the resolution. Pixel size, 1.85 micrometer. Yeah, runs on 12 volt, 1 amp. It has USB there for regular interface, and there's UVC. I looked that up. I don't use it, but it's apparently a driverless video over USB interface capability for a computer if it has USB-C or UVC capability. So that's for like connecting a USB cable to get driverless video support from it to your computer. I don't use it, but I thought I'd mention it. Beyond that, unrelated to the camera itself, do yourself a favor. Get a polarizing ring light. You don't need to pay $100 for it. This is on AliExpress. The iFix's IL37. It's like $22 to $24. It's fine. Like you can see, we turn it to like, you try to read that, you're getting glare. Polarized light. Polarized light is great. You can have the best camera in the world, but if some part of your imaging chain is shit, then you're going to get shit results. So I thought I'd mention that, as I love this thing. When I switch to it versus just a regular light, polarized light is, yeah, use polarized light. Okay, I believe that's it. And I still went to 20 minutes, damn it. Sorry, YouTube, I cannot, for the life of me, make a short video. Have a good day. I tried to rush saying, have a good day. Yeah. Here, as compensation, internet cat tax. Very, very photogenic cat. Good floof. It's funny, he loves just sleeping on my tool bag. That's like his favorite perch right there. All right. Have a good day, YouTube.